evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Motor City Madmouth Show. Yes, I'm the Motor City Madmouth, and I'll tell you, I'm going to be doing a little bit of reminiscing tonight. Before I say that, tonight's show is sponsored by Sawgrass Cleaning Solutions. So thank you very much for sponsoring the show, Sawgrass. Appreciate you very much. Over to my right, Danny McManus. I've interviewed a lot of Hall of Famers over the years, and he is the latest one in a long line of them. And I had an opportunity to catch up with Danny at an FAU game, and it was just so cool along with Rod Peterson. Danny, glad to have you on the show. We're going to reminisce, and then we're going to get to the hard stuff. Glad to have you on the Motor City Madmouth Show.
Oh, I appreciate it, buddy. I've been looking forward to it ever since we connected, and it's great to reminisce with you about the old days back in the late 70s, early 80s, and looking forward to talking some football with you.
Well, few people realize that South Florida obviously turned out to be a fertile ground for a lot of great young players, even back in the 70s and 80s, more so then. You had a lot of hidden gems then, but you also have a lot of them now. So let's talk about your days playing at South Broward High School. You know, I remember that I used to go to those games. I was actually working with the Hallandale Digest and the Hollywood Sun-Tattler. Let's do a little reminiscing. Tell me what it was like over at South Broward.
Oh, it was an experience. I was really a baseball guy at first with Coach Cook at South Broward High School. I didn't really think about playing football at all until one of my buddies, Joe Simino, who was playing football, said, "Hey, our quarterback's hurt. We need somebody to come out and just throw the ball at practice." I said, "Well, Joe, I'll come out, but I'm not going to get hit. I don't want anybody hitting me. I'm a baseball guy." Right. And just happened to be one of the coaches there was Phil Patton, who Phil Patton coached my brother a number of years earlier at South Broward High School. So Coach Patton threw me the football. I threw it back to him, and that was the day I became the quarterback in grade 11 at South Broward High School. So it took a while to get me on the field, but football has taken me to some great heights, and I'm very pleased to be a part of it, part of the great game of football. It's a great team game, and baseball did well through high school, but never went any further than that.
Yeah, let's talk about your time at South Broward.
It was good. Yeah. The best part was Coach Steve Hordisky was our coach. And the funny story is Florida State came down to, they were getting ready to play Miami, and they were coming in to watch one of our linebackers, Jamel Adjemi. They're coming. I mean, everything I threw was right there. Or guys were taking it to the house, end up with over 400 yards throwing and 6 touchdowns. So I got on the radar of Florida State, and it kind of worked out that all through the recruiting process at South Broward, it was, different coaches coming down. Coach Mike Kruzek came down to South Broward, so a lot of my friends thought that was pretty cool. Coach Bowden came down. Coach Bowden came down with Burt Reynolds to my house to visit my mom for a house visit. So, I mean, it was something we never thought was ever going to happen. But the time at South Broward, being a Bulldog and playing football and baseball was a lot of fun. And I still got lifelong friends that I communicate with all the time. We have little reunions at different guys or different girls' house, and just reminisce about some of the stuff that we used to do at South Broward. It was definitely a great experience.
I remember covering high school basketball back then. It was pretty interesting, but I covered the Miami Hurricanes a lot. In fact, I worked with Howard Schnellenberger, never worked with Jimmy Johnson, but just to be a part of Hurricanes football and then take that on top of the fact they placed Florida State every year, you realize what a great in-state rivalry that they really are. So let's continue. Let's go ahead and talk about your college days, because you did a good job transitioning over to the GMTA part of the program. Great minds think alike, okay? And that being at FSU, you played for Bobby Bowden. What was that like? I know in 1988 you became the Fiesta Bowl MVP. So let's talk about playing for Coach Bowden.
Coach Bowden was outstanding. He's the one that molded me the most at the quarterback position, just because he had played the position before. And what everybody sees on TV when he was coaching is exactly how he was at practice. He wanted the best for his players. He was a father figure for us. I mean, he directed us in the right line. If we got out of line, he moved us back into line. But just to be in his presence was awesome. I mean, just to hear him speak, just to think about how his mind works. And I got a chance more than the other players because he was actually our quarterback coach for the longest time. Because when I first got there, Mark Rick, who was at the University of Miami, was our graduate assistant coach. Okay. So Coach Bowden was teaching him the ins and outs of being a quarterback coach. And then Coach Rick moved on, went to East Carolina for a year, then came back my senior year at Florida State. And we just meshed real well. I mean, it was a lot of fun at Florida State. As you as you remember, I mean, Coach Bowden loved to throw the football. He liked to get the ball up in the air, and just having him having the confidence in me to be able to go out there and run the ball club the way he wanted it to run, and he had that confidence in me to get it done each week was a blessing there. So I owe a lot to that man. That man taught me a lot. He just taught me not only the game of football, but the game of life as well.
I got to know Bobby Bell, one of the nicest people I ever meet.
Yes.
I think a lot of college coaches have personality, and he was definitely one of them. You could go over the years. I could do a show talking about college football personalities. In fact, you probably do it with basketball, but I've done more of my work with college. Well, Josh, forget your question just a moment. Okay, from there, Florida State, you went over to the Kansas City Chiefs. You were drafted in 1988. Back then, they had a lot of rounds. You were drafted round 11, picked 282. Let's talk about your experience with the Chiefs.
It was a different experience now. I never thought I was going to get drafted. I was actually out playing stickball at our dorm at Florida State at Burt Reynolds Hall. And my roommate said I had a phone call, and I didn't know who it was. And then the person just on the other line said, "Hey, we just drafted you." I said, "Okay, who is this? Who's making fun of me here? I mean, who's pulling my leg?" But it was the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was a great opportunity to go out there. I got to learn from behind some great quarterbacks in Bill Kinney and Steve DeBerg. Steve DeBerg took me under his wing a little bit, showed me how to watch film, showed me how to ask questions in meetings, and how to write up a game plan. And that's where I learned a lot of my quarterbacking skills on what to do at meetings and different stuff like that. And spent a lot of time with those guys on the road. My job was to write down all the plays on the clipboard, and then I'd be able to go back and I'd break up the film for those two guys before they came in to watch the replay of the game. But it gave me a lot of experience to get around those two guys who were, I think they were both 17 or 15-year veterans in the NFL, and just showed me what it took to be a quarterback on a weekly basis.
Well, you subsequently were released by, I believe, Marty Schottenheimer. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, Marty came in. Frank Gans was the coach that I stayed there with for 1 year, and I thought for sure I'd get a couple more years with Coach Gans, but we had a change at the general manager spot, and then Marty Schottenheimer came in with his quarterbacks, and at that time they drafted one as well out of Wake Forest. So we had too many guys, and I was the lone guy that they didn't know, so they got rid of me, and then I ended up going up to Winnipeg of the Canadian Football League.
Great lead into Josh's question. What's one thing about CFL quarterback that an average fan would absolutely never guess? Great question, Josh. I like that. I'm thinking that's called a thinking man's question.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's I think one of the things is that you got to understand we only play 3 downs. So the CFL quarterback's got to be very accurate with the football. We're already behind the sticks. In the NFL, you get 4 downs to get a first down. In the CFL, you only have 3. So you got to make sure that you're positive yards on your first and 10. And then when you're with the football and you're looking downfield, you got to make sure. Sometimes you got to hold on to a little longer, but you got to make sure that you give your receiver some time to get to the first down markers and things like that. But the biggest thing that a CFL quarterback has to be is super accurate. I mean, NFL guys are very accurate as well. But, you got to be in precision, know where you're going with the football, and have the guts to stand in that pocket for that little extra half second, because you're going to get blasted, but your receiver is going to get open just a little bit longer.
All right, so let's talk about your transition from American football to the CFL. After we get done with that, we're going to go to a station break. But once you get that in, then we're going to talk about your Grey Cup and a few other things.
Sure.
So transition from American football, knowing college / NFL, to Canadian Football League.
It was a little different. The field's wider. You're going 65 yards instead of 53, and it's longer. It's 110 yards from goal line to goal line. And then the interesting part that people don't realize is that the end zones are 20 yards deep instead of 10. So it's a game that's more for passing. You're going to throw the ball around the park. That's what I enjoy as a quarterback. You're playing with 12 guys instead of 11. So for me, on the defensive side, it's more like having 2 strong safeties on both sides, and you got to watch all those guys coming from different areas. But on the advantage is you have 5, sometimes 6 receivers going out on a route. It's almost like playing street ball down the street with your buddies and just drawing stuff up in the dirt and, just putting it together and see how it goes. But it was a transition. It took a while before I started playing. It was a good 2 or 3 years before I started playing steady at the quarterback position. But you had to learn all the different things that happen with the motion. All guys that are off the line of scrimmage can motion left or right, or they can motion towards the line of scrimmage, which only in the NFL, you can only go up and down the line of scrimmage. So it's a little different, but it's fun to watch. I encourage people to watch it. It's down here. They play it on the States quite a bit, And I think it's one of those games where people look at it. It's going to be weird at first, but once you look at it and see how all the scoring goes, you'll definitely enjoy it.
Well, before I go to a station break, I know Warren Moon did a great job when he was not drafted at all, using the CFL as a stepping stone and subsequently landed in the NFL. But the guy I want to talk about in particular, Danny, is Johnny Manziel. If there's ever a guy who I thought could have benefited from a wider field, it would have been Johnny Manziel, because he got a great arm. Yep. He really does, and he can run. Why do you think Johnny Manziel was not able to make it in the CFL?
Well, he did a good job when he first came up there. He was, using exactly what you said, his athletic ability and his arm strength, and going different, throwing the ball all over the place. And then he got running a little bit more than what I, would say a CFL quarterback would do. And he took a couple of dings into the head. So guys started to get some marks on him, started to get some hits on him. And then it's just a matter of adapting to that. Now you got to adapt to the quarterback game of staying in the pocket as long as you can, like I said before, making the right throws. And Johnny was ready to run. I mean, I don't know if he stayed long enough in the pocket to let the route come together, but he was anxious to get on the outside. And usually that happens with some smaller quarterbacks like myself. We want to get on the outside quickly so we can see. And I think that was just his issue there. And then, there's a lot of things that Johnny wanted to do that wasn't available in the CFL. He's a character, but he's a good athlete, and he just wasn't getting his feel there in the CFL, and moved on to other pastures.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're here, Pence. We're going to get your question in a moment, but we'll go on to the station break. Andy Ebling, take over.
You're listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you see the red subscribe button, that means you have not subscribed yet. Please do so and share us with all of your friends and family. Anybody you think that would enjoy. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesdays and Thursday nights, you just never know what's going to be on tap. So stay tuned. The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book late last year. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. The title, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by Scott, and it is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google and Apple Books. There's also a link to it on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is also a link to our merchandise store. And there's a plethora of great writers and great content and some pictures too. So go check it out. Buy this book. It talks about Scott's 40 plus years in the media business and how it has changed. Great stories. It's a great gift idea. So go get your copy today. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise, you want to call Scott, 954-304-4941. You can get an ad like this. This program is brought to you by the Sawgrass Cleaning Solutions. Thank you, Sawgrass Cleaning. We appreciate you sponsoring tonight's show. And then, last but not least, if you want to be a guest or have show ideas, email us, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to the show.
Thank you, Candy. All right, let's go to Penzance. What was it like to play more defense or offense, referring to the differences in the league as well as the CFL?
Like the differences in our game on offense.
Would you like to play
I
more
like
defense
offense. I think I'm always an offensive guy. I like that, trying to scheme up some routes and stuff to go against defenses. One of the big things is defenses want to come pressure you, so they're going to try to bring one extra guy to come at you and make you get rid of the football a little bit earlier. So I'm always on the offensive side. Defense is very tough. I mean, that's with all these guys, like I said, in motion, all these guys running around sometimes, with the different sets. I'd hate to be on the defensive side, in a CFL game for sure. I like the offensive side, trying to scheme up some stuff to get some points on the board.
Another question from Jay: how much is the NFL a level up from college? 1 to 100 is what he says.
Oh, the NFL moving up is all the guys are good. I mean, when you're in college and then you go to the NFL, it's a speed factor. Everybody's a good athlete in the NFL. It's just how fast the game is now.
Right.
So first thing I noticed in going to Kansas City, and that was like that was 1988. The guys now are bigger and faster, but back in '88, I had to throw the ball when the receiver was covered, anticipating what open spot he was going to get to. If I waited for him to get open,
Right.
that ball wasn't going to get there. That window was going to close. So it's more of the speed factor going from it. But I would say college guys, when I played against them, I mean, playing against the Hurricanes was like playing against an NFL team. Playing against the Gators was like playing against an NFL team.
Right.
All the guys were fast. I mean, that's going to be the aspect. But up in the NFL, it's even faster. The windows open and close a lot quicker. And I mean, it's definitely 100%. I mean, 100% faster than what you got at college. There's no doubt. But everybody's good in college. Now everybody's really good players are in the NFL, and that's what makes a difference.
Let's go to a follow-up question. How much of a level is the CFL over college? I know we talked about the NFL, so let's go back to the difference between those two leagues.
Yeah, I think looking at the CFL, it's a brand of game that's basically based on size. Our guys got to be able to run. So we're not going to have the 300-pound defensive lineman. We're going to have the 280s, the 285 guys that can move up and down the line of scrimmage. The offensive linemen won't be the big guys that you see in college. They're going to be more the finesse guys. Receivers are going to be scat guys. They're going to be the 5'8", 180s that can run, that can do some things that maybe the NFL guys are looking for, the big, tall receivers, the bigger guys, and doing it that way. So with the 2 downs that we have to get a first down,
Right.
or third down, you got to get guys that can make people miss in space. And that's a big factor in the CFL, that you always want to try to get ahead of the chain. So first down, you got to get 5 yards.
Right.
Second down, you get what you can to get the first down. But if you don't get any yards on first down, you are so far behind the chains. The defense is playing different games with you, and you got to be ready for a blitz. You got to be ready for anything. But when you do that, you want to get it out to your guys so they can make one guy miss, and then they'll get the first down for you. But it's a big factor. It's a level up. I mean, there's a lot of college guys that could not play our game just based on their size and what they're able to do. And even in the NFL, there's a lot of guys that would not be able to play the CFL game based just merely on size.
Interesting. Well, Blows actually has a pretty good question that may be close to what you're saying, but we'll get it up there and let you evaluate it, and you can answer it the way you see fit. Danny, for the viewers that are not familiar with the CFL, what are the biggest differences between the CFL and NFL? That's a fair question. A lot of people do ask me to talk about the two leagues.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, so there's 12 guys instead of 11 on each side. The field dimensions are wider and longer. Also, the special teams is a big game in the CFL. It's very big part of having guys that want to play on special teams. We only have a 45-man roster. The big difference is there are no fair catches on punts. We're encouraging returns. There's a 5-yard halo that is supposed to be around the returner. Anybody that gets inside that 5-yard halo, it's a penalty. But we want to get returns going, so we try to encourage that. Our kickoffs are, like what kickoffs were, or normally, not like what they are now in the NFL. Same way, we want to encourage kickoffs. The guys don't kick them into the end zone. If you do get a kickoff into the end zone and you don't bring it out, it's called a rouge. Now, a rouge is a single point. If you don't bring the ball out, the kicking team gets a single point. So there's a difference there. If you do bring it out, you get it out to where you want to get it to. There are no touchbacks on kickoffs. You're giving up a single point. But I mean, that's what we want these guys to catch the ball and get out of the end zone and bring it out for a return. So those are the big 2 differences outside of the number of guys that we play with. But scoring is big. We encourage a lot of scoring, a lot of throwing of the football, and it's a fun game to watch. And you need somebody that knows the CFL the first time that you watch it, just so you get the ins and outs. But it's a great game. A lot of things are happening, a lot of movement. Like I said before, the motion guys can move all over the place. It's a little weird if you're just traditional NFL guy, you'll see something weird about this.
All right, you won 5 Grey Cups, 3 as a player and 2 as an administrator. What was it like?
Oh, that's the main goal in anything you play. I mean, you want to be a champion, and it's fun to be the last team standing there holding on to a trophy that's over 113 years old. It's the oldest trophy in North America. So it's one of those things that it's great to be a part of a winning team and know that you put in the work, just like in any other organization, any other sport. The goal is to be the champion, to be the last one standing, and to have all those guys come together and bounce through every snap, every practice, and to know what the goal is to win a championship, and to do it more than once. It's fun. I mean, the first one is exciting. The second one is, okay, I didn't know I was going to get that, but now to get to 5, that's it's a challenge each and every year, but it's the same satisfaction at the end. I mean, you get to drink some beer out of the cup, you get to have some fun. It's a great time, and it's a great accomplishment by everybody involved.
Describe the differences, though, between winning one as a player as well as an administrator.
Well, as a player, you're more involved in it. You're seeing a lot of, you're out there, you're going through the sweat and tears. As administration, I do most of my job this time of the year, from December till training camp. I'm out looking for ball players to come up to Winnipeg and trying to get a team together so our coaches can get them ready for the season and try to win a Grey Cup. But administration winning, it's nice. You're in the press box. You're eating a good press box food. You're sitting there. There's no real pressure on you. And then when you win, you go down and have fun. But unfortunately, we've lost the last 3. We've been to 5 in a row here, and we won the first 2 back to back, and then the last 3 years we've lost them. But we want to get back there for the 6th time in a row and change that.
Well, keep in mind, folks, Danny McManus, assistant general manager for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So great stuff. All right, so you're the 3rd player in CFL history to reach 50,000 yards. To be specific, 53,255. As obviously Robert Wardell talks about, you're 3rd all time, and you did a lot of your good work with the Tiger Cats. How much pride do you take in being able to amass that many yards in that league?
Well, it's longevity. Being in the league for a long time is really dependent on the 5 guys in front of you that are pass protecting and your running back that's watching your backside, and to have some great receivers to play with. I got the opportunity to play with Darren Flutie, who is Doug Flutie's brother, for 10 years.
Right.
And to have him as a receiver is more him being almost like another quarterback on the field. He was able to read defenses, and he helped me out quite a bit in getting into the areas, the open areas. It's kind of another quarterback out there, so he knows where to be and where the ball is going to come. But it's the guys around you, Scott. I mean, everybody, when you talk about championships, it's the guys around you. It's when you talk about number of yards you've thrown for it, it's the guys around you. Because in a locker room, when our players realize that it's their team and that you're playing for the guy standing next to you or the guy that's dressing next to you and in your locker room, and you got that whole thing, championships come. It's just getting to that point for the belief factor of the players to understand that, dudes, this is your team. It's not the coach's team. It's not the owner's team. It's your team. This team will go as far as the players in the locker room will take it. But first, they got to realize they got to play for each other, not for the name on the front or the name on the back. You got to play for each other.
So do you have any regrets at all by not going back to the NFL? I know some guys, as I alluded to with Warren Moon, go up there and then they say, let me get another shot at the NFL, say like this.
Yeah, there was some time. There's some talk about coming back down to the NFL. My brother gave me great advice. He says you can be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond. And I just started playing in the NFL, being the starter. And that's when a lot of talks came about. I'm coming back down to the NFL. But when you're 5'11" 3/4, in the mid 90s, and all quarterbacks in the NFL are like 6'3", 6'4", you're better off being where you are. And I enjoyed playing. I enjoyed the people of Canada. The fans are great. And it's a great opportunity for me just to play football and have fun out there with a bunch of guys and go after championships like we did.
Great questions in the chat room. We're going to get to them now. Defense and sports, if you have a chance to play defense in the CFL, what do you have?
Defense-wise, I probably won. Like I said before, when I went to South Broward, they made me the quarterback. I didn't want to get hit. I mean, my whole career, I didn't want to get hit. So I don't know if baseball helped me develop a quick release, but as soon as I saw people coming near me, I wanted to get rid of the football. And my receivers knew that, and they got open a lot faster than maybe what they do for other quarterbacks. But that ball was coming no matter what. I was not going to sit there and take a shot if I didn't have to.
Josh Adore, doozy. I like this one. Andy, your career was filled with great moments, but what single play or leadership moment from your time on the field are you the most proud of that might not be reflected in the box score? Josh Adore is getting better. Keep it up, Mr. Dorr. All right.
Nice question. Yes, there are a few.
I love this question.
That's great. There are a few. There was one when I went to Hamilton in 1998. And it goes back in 1997. That team went 2-16. So we go in 98, we go to the Grey Cup, we lose to Calgary. So we turned things around pretty quick. We didn't finish the Cinderella story like we wanted to. But in 99, we got to go back again. And this time we played Calgary again. This time we beat them. And there was a lot of guys that were on that 2-16 team from 1997 with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and they got a chance to not be the laughing stock of the league anymore. They got a chance to get up on the stage, hold the championship trophy, and show it to all the guys, all the people out there that made fun of them 2 years ago. And I didn't go up on the stage. I stayed on the field and watched those guys because they deserved it more. They went through some tough times there, but what we were able to do is all come together as a group, turn things around pretty quickly at Hamilton, and give them a championship so they can show it off to their friends, their family, but also the naysayers that were coming after them when they went 2-16.
Has been great comparison. You were awesome pocket passer compared to Joe Montana. You ever been compared to Joe Montana?
No, that's a great comparison, and I appreciate that, but I don't know if it's a comparison from Joe's eyes. Through the playing football, you get a chance to meet a lot of people. And, a lot of knowledge that I got from Steve DeBerg on how to play football. I got a chance to be with Ron Jaworski on that year that I got cut by Kansas City. Okay. And he gave me great advice as well. He said, hey, there's not a string on the end of the football. When you let go of it, let it go. Don't pull it back. And I remember doing that all through my career. Just remember what Jaws said is hey, when you see it, trigger it, let it go. Don't hold back. And those are like the little things you hear from guys, and you look around and you say, well, I don't think I'm thinking about that all the time, but it's in there. It's in my mind, and I can see, Ron, in a couple of weeks at the Super Bowl, him and Dick could do a cigar thing out there. If I wanted to get out there and go see him, I mean, it'd be like we just were together the other day. I mean, he's such a good dude. Same with Steve. Every once in a while, run into him up at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers training camp. So it's a little like community. It's a little fraternity of guys that played the position at quarterback, no matter what league you've been in. And guys give out advice to everybody. I give advice to our quarterbacks, and I give advice to anybody that would listen to playing the quarterback position.
I actually met Ron Jaworski, Super Bowl 33. I've covered 4 Super Bowls, and I met him, and we spent some time. Great football mind. But when you see him the next time, okay, I want you to go ahead. This is your assignment, okay, because you're used to assignment because you went to school, okay. I remember when he was playing ball back with the Eagles and the Rams, he was called the Polish Rifle. Do you remember that?
I remember. Okay, yeah.
Yep. And ask him what it was like to be called the Polish Rifle. Because this guy had one of the best arms I've ever seen in my years watching football. And I'll tell you, I go back, listen, I'll be 62 in about less than 2.5 weeks. And I've seen a lot of football in my day. You talk about press box, I've lived in that thing for like 45 some odd years. So the Polish Rifle, people, that's what Ron Jaworski's name was back in the day. There's your homework. You and I get to see each other. That's a given. All right, back to the chat room. Chat room's on fire tonight. Love it. Okay, Josh Dorr, while those questions are stellar, Joshua, when you put your mind to it, pal, okay, that's what happens. You'll get all the praise you want because you're coming up with some great ones, and we'll go back to them. Okay, Joshua Dorr, who are the most influential members in your life, and who are the most valuable piece of advice you received from them as it still resonates with you?
Well, it's Coach Bowden. I mean, it's easily that's an easy one. That's the one that I live by pretty much all the time now is when he told me, he said, in the huddle, you got 10 set of eyes looking at you that are focused on you. And the way you say the play, the way, however your manners are, they're going to see if you have confidence in the play. So when I try to talk to people, I make sure I look them in the eye. I make sure they understand that I'm focusing on them, and that they understand that they're the most important thing that's right there. I'm not thinking of anything else. I'm not looking over his shoulder. I'm not doing that. So I try to resonate with everybody that I'm looking at you. I'm paying attention to you because there's nothing else out there that I want to do except to understand what you're asking me, what you're telling me, and have a conversation. So and Coach Bowden said that'll be a valuable lesson for you in life. Because once you get out of the huddle, people still watch. Everybody's going to watch you no matter what you do, whether you're successful in football or if you're successful in business. People are going to watch what you do, how you handle yourself. So I always make sure I try to handle myself in the way that he wanted us to.
As in sports, in high school, you did punt returner. Did you enjoy it?
No, I didn't really enjoy it. No, I was. I purposely didn't try to catch the ball too many times. I always let it hit the ground and then would kneel on it, but I never wanted to get any returns. Again, going back to the same deal as I didn't want to get hit. So but I didn't want to fumble either and put our team in a bad spot.
Okay, I'll tell you, I'm looking at these chat room. I'm having a lot of fun. All this participation you're getting on there. Scott, thanks for asking Mr. McManus for the answer. So you have to really anticipate what will happen. I never thought of it that CFL is a smaller set of players.
Yeah, just the smaller body types. Just our guys got to be a little bit quicker. They got to be a lot better shape too. We only have a 45-man roster. All right, so it's not the 53 that the NFL has. So you're down a couple of backups. Some of your starters have to be on special teams as well. So, and we play 18 games instead of now. I think the NFL is playing 17. So the guys got to be in real good shape to get through a whole season and be ready to make some adjustments. Sometimes you got to play some different positions just because roster wise, you got to be able to do that. But our guys, the biggest thing is speed. We got to have guys that can run. Of course, you want the guys that can block, that can rush the passer, but other than that, it's the special teams guys and then the guys in the secondary and the receiving corps got to be able to run and get downfield in a hurry.
Another good one in the chat room. I'll put them up as we go. Number of players, field dimensions, number of downs, lower roster, no fair catches, 20 yards. So players tend to be smaller and quicker. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely agree with it. Yeah, just because there's a lot of space. And, I've always, in the last couple of years, mentioned that the NFL would be good just to expand their field a little bit because the guys are getting bigger and faster now in the NFL. If they expanded out to 65 yards wide, that would make it, some spots where guys aren't getting hit and having the concussions and things like that. But it's also going to give them some more space because of how athletic they are, be able to turn the corner and get some big plays out of it as well. So even though it's only 8, 60 was 12-yard difference. I mean, I think that difference would do a lot for the game if you can make it into a stadium now. I mean, the stadiums are built to cover the 53 and to go 12 yards wider would be a little difficult in some of the NFL stadiums today.
Okay, let's go to Penn. Another good question here. Did you enjoy being a wide receiver quarterback, which caused you to have better stats in both? Interesting. And by the way, Penn has his own show here on our network as well. Does a really good job.
Cool. Yeah, no, quarterback was what I always wanted to be, and I've always enjoyed it. I think Coach Bowden had a couple of passes where we did a reverse and they threw it to me. I was 50-50 catching the ball, but I just enjoyed the challenge, of leading guys into battle and executing the game plan that Coach Bowden and Mark Rick put together week in and week out at Florida State. And then the same with my offensive coordinators and head coach. I realized I was just an extension of those guys when I'm on the field. I'm the guy that's talking to the players the most. I get to hold the ball every play. The ball is going to come to me and I got to do something with it. So I've always liked that. I mean, that was fun to do. And I like the pressure situations. I always seem to enjoy those and just realize that, hey, you got to go out there and execute the play the best you can. If you get it, that's great. If you don't, learn from it and just don't make the same mistake twice.
You're one of those. Let me tell you something. When I played baseball, I loved playing catcher because I'm like you. I had to be involved in every play, and I didn't care if I was talking to the opposing hitter, the umpire, or my pitcher. I was involved in one of those. And when you can impact the game as much as you can, when you have a more vocal opportunity to do it, you do it.
Absolutely.
All right, Jay, here's another one. From a competitive perspective, how did you take being cut, going to a league that is less prestigious, still find a way to drive for success and maintain championship caliber play? Also impressive. Boy, I'll tell you one thing. This chat room is coming up with great questions. I'm glad.
Yeah, nobody likes to get cut. I mean, that was the first time that I was actually told, like, you're not good enough to play football. And that was at Kansas City. And I understood that. I mean, the Coach Schottenheimer has to put a team together and he viewed that I wasn't good enough for what they wanted to do. And that's fine. I mean, I completely understood that, but I didn't want to give up on football. And just to go a full circle is that I left Kansas City, went up to Canada, played another 16 years up there, but I had a chance to see Coach Schottenheimer at the East-West Shrine game when he was coaching it. And I went up and talked to him, and he remembered me and everything. And I said, I just wanted to thank you for cutting me because you pushed me to go out there and get better and to strive to be the quarterback that you thought I was going to be, but just wasn't good enough at that time. And, and he appreciated that. He goes, I don't get too many guys coming back saying, thank you for cutting me. but I owed it to him because he gave me that fire to go out there and try to be the best that I could be at quarterback, and realizing that I wasn't there yet and I had to keep striving to get better.
And you root for the Chiefs to this day?
Oh yeah, I like the Chiefs. Yeah, I got helmets in here. I got jerseys in here. The Chiefs. Yeah. So, I mean, I watched their quarterback, and that he is unbelievable. I mean, it's the things that he does. I mean, he's unbelievable, and the chemistry that he has just with that offense and with Coach Reed, it's great to watch. You see him really in command of everything that happens here at Kansas City.
And let's go to another question from Jay. Do you think Detroit embodies a vision of championship caliber team you mentioned? And which team would you prefer watching, Detroit or Pittsburgh?
You know what? I like both of them. I like Detroit. I like just the way that their mentality is, kind of what they come out on the football field saying, "Hey, this is what we're going to do. You got to stop us." Yeah, we got that. We're going to do everything offensively, defensively. We're going to disrupt anything you want to try and do offensively. And then when we get the ball back, our guys are going to go down and put the points on the board. So you just got to play catch up. And Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, unbelievable. I mean, just what he's does with the enthusiasm that he gives to his men to go out there and perform. And I love the standard is the standard. I mean, that is what every player wants to be told, because each player knows what the standard is. And if they're not living up to it, it's easy to look in the mirror and make that statement to yourself, saying, "Hey, I'm not living up to the standard. I got to be better." And it shows on the field. Guys play for him. Russell Wilson's doing an excellent job at the quarterback position of not only throwing the deep ball like he was doing earlier in his career, but also pulling the ball and getting them sent things out on the edge and making put some pressure on the defense to keep the ball and keep the chains moving. So I like both of those. Right now, I mean, I like the way Detroit plays. I just like their mental attitude of going into a football game is, we're going to dictate the game. You're not going to dictate the game to us.
Yeah, that's attributed by the culture that Dan Campbell seems to have set for that franchise. Of course, it didn't hurt that when they hired him. He got a 6-year contract from the get-go. So if he wanted to go for it on fourth down 9 million times, he wasn't losing his job over it, because they gave him enough time saying, "We believe what you're going to do what you got to do." And the other organization go a little bit crazy, but they've given him some room. And we know where the results are.
And the players, Scott, the players play for him because he will go it on fourth down. He's not doing it just as a gimmick. He's doing it because he has faith in his ball players, and players appreciate that the coach is giving it. I mean, he's putting it on the table and saying, "Hey, I trust my guys. My guys will get it done," and they do it. They perform and they get the job done.
Another good one by Jay. I like when these guys come in there. I can't think of everything, but I love it when they do. What was your lowest moment in sports in general? How did you find a way to overcome it? And have you leveraged it as a driver?
Yeah, I again, going back, first time being told you can't play ball. You don't know, that ride back from from Liberty University back down to Kansas City was the longest ride I ever made. I didn't know what I was going to do. And that was I'm sitting there thinking, am I going back to Florida State to, help Coach Bowden coach? I did not know where I was going. I didn't know what I was going to do the next day. And you kind of think, okay, football is done for me, or what else is going to be out there? I didn't know it. I knew a little bit about the Canadian Football League. I did not know that Winnipeg had my rights to go up there, and got a phone call a week later about wanting to, they want me to come up there and show them what I could do for their team and see where it goes from there. But the lowest moment there was just first time ever being told you can't do something. I mean, I got told a lot of times by my parents I can't do something, but no, you can't do this, you can't do that, but something that you really enjoyed, and there wasn't anywhere else to go. I just got in my car and drove back to my apartment in Kansas City and just sat there in silence and didn't know what direction or anything I was doing, and I didn't want to be in that spot again. So that drove me into make sure you're doing every little thing. Now, don't look at the big picture. Look at the small picture and just stack days on top of days, and things will come together. You got to see the big picture, but you got to start just with the little one day at a time. Right? And some days are going to be good, some days are going to be bad, but try to be 1% better than you were the day before. And that's just the way I started at that point.
Very good. All right. Hope Pensman says, did you ever ask to be traded?
A couple times in the CFL. I had the luxury of going 1-17 in Hamilton. We lost our owners midway through the season. The league took us over, and we weren't doing very well. And I asked to be moved from that team to go to a team that might be in contention, that would be looking for my services. But with the league owning the team, they weren't allowed to do trades, so I was stuck there. So that was probably the only time I looked to be traded, was when I realized that the organization was not going in the right direction. Yeah.
More in the chat. Our CFL and NFL books basically same or different?
They're the same calls. Everybody has different ideas of what they want to call different runs, the same stuff like that. We do a lot of different things with our motion that they can't do, because only one guy can go in motion in the NFL. We have to call a bunch of different crazy motions for our guys to understand what to do, but very similar. Protections are very similar. The secondary, what we call for coverages, cover 3, cover 4, cover 2, match coverage, all the same things that you would hear on an NFL field or an NFL broadcast.
And Jay says, thanks for sharing the vulnerable moment, Mr. McManus. I asked because I challenge employees regularly to be better and day in and day out, and also take bad news and leverage it as much. And leverage it is a positive. Very good stuff, Jay. We'll continue with the Jay theme for a moment. I know it's hard, but it's a great attribute. I may use your story at some point. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Jay, when I bring on guests here and they can bring something to the show, we'll definitely do that. So with that said, let's go on to something I know you must be extremely proud of as we wrap this edition of the Motor City Mad Mouth show. And we'll go back to our sponsors in just a moment. But describe the feeling when you were inducted into the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame in 2011.
Oh, it was, Scott, to be honest, it was a phone call from the commissioner. And when I answered the phone and he said, as the commissioner of the CFL, I said, all right, what did I do wrong? Because I was out scouting. So right. I thought I did something wrong. He goes, no, you're fine. I just wanted to let you know that you've been elected into the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame. And I never thought, almost like the draft day when Kansas City drafted me, I never thought that was going to happen. I just went out and played football and just had fun with the guys that I was with, never looking at when I didn't even know how many years you had to be out before you get nominated for the Hall of Fame. So when that phone call came, it was a lot of joy. It was a lot of fun. It correlated with my earlier story, because I was at the East-West game where I thanked Coach Schottenheimer just the night before for cutting me. So it all kind of worked in together. I said, now that's crazy there, but it's such an honor to be in the Hall of Fame with the guys that established the Canadian Football League. They were holding us up. We were on their shoulders, and now we're doing that now with the younger generation. We're making sure that we're supporting them, and it's such a great game, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, like I said before, it's one of the oldest trophies in North America. It's the Grey Cup championship. It's been everywhere. It's been lost. We won it one year, and we left it at a bar, and Charles Barkley brought it back for us because he happened to be in town playing basketball. It's been in the bottom of a river. It's been dented. It's been torn apart in the celebration, but it's part of of Canadian national history. It's a big part of it, and it was great to be able to hold on to it once in a while, and hopefully we get another chance to do it again.
Where's it located for those watching for the first time?
Well, right now the winning team from this last year's Grey Cup has it. So the Toronto Argonauts have it right now.
But the Canadian Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Canadian Football Hall of Fame is in Hamilton, Ontario.
Okay,
so it's in Hamilton. Yeah, it's in Hamilton, and the replica of the original is in the Hall of Fame. Okay. And then the team that wins it, you get it for a year to take it wherever you want. Each of the players get to take it home, and they can show it in their community and do all that stuff with it. Very similar to what they do with the Stanley Cup as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So, folks, if you want to visit Canadian Football Hall of Fame, go to Hamilton, Ontario. Yeah. As long as these questions keep coming in the chat room, I'm going to put them out there. All right, Danny?
Sure, yeah.
Appreciate your time. So, Jay, same plays, but 12 players. They keep coming. I keep posting them. Here we go. Same plays. There must be some sort of aspect of gameplay, or is it the same difference between the field is wider? What is the extra position generally, the wide receiver or the safety? I believe that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, I think going to the extra position usually it's an extra. We play with 1 running back and 5 receivers. We don't play with a tight end. So those are that's our sets. You can do a 3x2 set, 4x1 set, with your guys at the receiver spot, or take the running back out and do all 6 receivers and do it that way. Let me get some water too, buddy.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Go ahead. Yeah, well, you talked a little bit, get a little bit dry, but yeah, I did not know that they didn't play with a tight end. They don't play with a tight end up there?
No, usually no, because we want to get you gotta get the ball out there and you gotta throw it. So we're gonna get as many guys out there as possible.
So it might be a little bit of the Arena Football League, certain positions that you don't address and some that you don't. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So now Jay's suggesting it's time to write a book, Mr. McManus. I did. I'm sure you probably have enough material to do it. Put that out there. Okay, now let's go back to Pensman. Okay, do you have a gold jacket from the CFL? That's interesting.
It's not gold, it's black, but it has the CFL Hall of Fame crest on it. So I had to wear it at the Grey Cup. Was it 3 weeks ago now? So I wore it. I wear it once a year at the Grey Cup. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, do you ever wear it when you go to the Hall of Fame when they bring in new people, or how is that set up?
Yep. Yeah. There's a Hall of Fame game is in Hamilton each year. If I'm not out on the road scouting and I can get up there, I'll definitely go to the Hall of Fame game. But usually they require us to do a couple functions here and there at the Grey Cup, and that's usually where I wear it. Yeah. It still fits, surprisingly, because I'm not in the same playing shape, Scott.
Yeah. Telling me about that, really? Seriously? Of course, if you're looking to get the really seriously out, you did it twice. I mean, the clothes just don't matter what they. So you know what to do? You put them in a frame if you have to do.
Exactly.
So Jay said, well, keep it rolling a little bit, and then we'll have Candy Ebling on for another station break as we wrap up. I'm going to assume that you were injured at some point. What was your jersey worst injury and nagging injuries from your playing days?
The worst injury I got was at Florida State. I was sacked against Memphis. I did not see the guy coming, got ear hold my sophomore year, and had vertigo that would have been the 85 season. I only played the first 4 games, never came back and played again. In 85, Chip Ferguson took over my position. For the 86 season, I got in a little bit of 86 against Michigan, and once I got into that game, then I took over for the rest of 86 and 87. So that's the worst injury as far as vertigo. I never had that before. Actually, I thought it was some kind of neurological damage, inside the brain that I may not be able to play football again. But doctors all looked at it, said it was vertigo. And then in Canada, I got a spiral fracture on my hand. Got hit from behind, and the grass came up a lot faster than my hands could get out, and it just stuck it into the ground. But other than that, knocking on wood, knees are good, hips are good, head is good. I think sometimes I forget dates, but that's about it. But other than that, I got no real issues from playing that long in football and getting hit like that. So I credit the offensive linemen, the running backs, and those guys protecting me and protecting my back. Yep.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't suffer any long-term injuries. We could get into that another day when I have you, because we know the injuries after playing a physical sport like football are definitely unbelievable. But we won't touch on that tonight.
Right.
And now Jay wants to talk about vertigo for a moment, so we will do it. Vertigo lasted a while. Glad to see it. You didn't get too injured, because didn't like you to get hit. Well, that's what we just talked about. But he did reinforce what we did. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
We appreciate everybody in the chat room tonight. So just let everybody know, you can watch this show on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. It is also being broadcast audio, simulcast as we speak right now on Spreaker, Spotify, and of course it'll be on iHeartRadio as well. So you'll be able to catch both versions of it. Tonight's show is sponsored by Sawgrass Cleaning Solutions. So with that said, my name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Mad Mouth. This is the Motor City Mad Mouth show. I'm pleased to be on with quarterback Danny McManus. And Danny, obviously, I've interviewed so many Hall of Famers. You're just the latest, but we're not done with you yet. We really aren't. We have Tuesday night, which will be an entirely different show. I'm going to hit you with all kinds of experts. And I know that as time goes on, we'll be able to plan sporadic appearances as well as I pair you with more football individuals. And of course, I want to bring us on the show with Rod Peterson, because Rod Peterson is a guy I work with once or twice a week, and I have a good working relationship with Rod, who's done some unbelievable work up in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that he's part of the South Florida Tribune family as well. So go to Joshua Dora. He certainly saved a lot of his best questions for early, which is great. Excellent show. And let's continue thank you both for a great show. You were a big part of it too, Joshua Dora. Glad to have you as a sponsor tonight. Also, thank you. Great job, Stories Conversation, Mr. McManus. Really appreciate it all. Joshua Dora. Well, again, Josh, when you ask great questions, people recognize you. And I know that every show that you continue to do these things, you're going to continue to get better. You do. Pennsylvania want to know if you watch the USFL.
Oh, yeah. We scout those guys as well. Yeah, we do watch them. Their season runs that's coming up from March till June. And then we usually get those guys that'll come up after they heal up a bit. We'll get them in July and August if they can get out of their contracts. They're only 1-year contracts. They'll help us for the playoff run.
But one thing I wanted to ask you, when you're up in the Canadian Football League, do you need a working visa up there? How does that work?
Yes. Yeah, each player from the U.S. has to get a visa to work. Usually we don't get the visas for the guys until the final cuts are made. For training camp, they let us bring all the guys in because they're just trying out for a job. They don't have the job yet. But once you get the job, the U.S. guys got to jump into a bus, go down to the border, get your visa, and then go back to practice. Yeah.
And what happens when they get cut? Do they have to relinquish those visas?
They get taken with them. It's only a 1-year visa. So it's for the end of the year. Some players are staying in Canada, even, whether they're on our team for the rest of the year, or if they get cut, they might stay in town because we'll tell them, hey, stay around. If we have an injury, we'll call you right back. And we do a lot of stuff with the people in the community and with a lot of supporters we have. They're always looking to have football guys around to either talk to kids, community service stuff, and things like that. So it helps out.
Where do a lot of these players stay when they're up there?
They'll get their own apartments. Usually, if you have a family, the family will come up for the summer. But if you have kids in school, sometimes they'll go back. But guys will get houses and have 4 or 5 players into a house. It's a nice schedule because the Winnipeg Jets are in town as well. So, but they're not. We don't overlap that much during the season. So once they get done playing in the summer, we're just starting, and then we finish up right at the middle of November, and they're just beginning. So a lot of the houses are mixed with both Jets and with Winnipeg Blue Bomber players.
A lot of people are going to ask what the differences in the pay between the NFL and CFL. Do you want to shed a little light on that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there is a big difference. You're definitely in the CFL to get back to the NFL. So I think I'm not sure. I think the NFL cap this year is like over $200 million. Our cap for each team is a little over $5 million for 45 players. So quarterbacks are the high end guys. They're going to make between 400,000 and 600,000 Canadian.
Okay.
Your top receivers will make somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000, and then some of your linemen will make between the 125s, 175s would be your linemen. There's a lot of guys that are up there playing for 80,000 Canadian, 90,000 Canadian. There's not you're not going to retire on CFL money, but you'll be able to play for a long time and have a lot of fun. But it also gives you an opportunity to be exposed to the NFL guys because right after our season, you're permitted to try out for NFL teams right away. So that you're just playing, showing the film, then you get a chance to go work out for NFL teams right away.
Very good. All right. Well, we'll keep you on a little longer because the questions keep coming. That's what it's all about. One thing I've got to ask, does NIL hurt Canadian Football League in any way, shape, or form? I know it's kind of a random question, but I'm curious the impacts for recruiting from all CFL perspective. It's a different question, but certainly one you thought of.
It's a great question, Jay. I mean, it does. Like when I was scouting earlier before NIL came out, kids coming out of college really didn't have much money. Now you're seeing quarterbacks with $800,000, $900,000 that they're getting from the NIL deal. They're not, if they don't make the NFL, they're not ready to come to the CFL yet. They're going to try and they'll wait out a little bit longer than what they normally would do because they have some money in their pocket. So it has hurt us in the scouting department to get guys to come up and play just because these younger guys do have money in their pocket. I still think you got to play to get exposure to the NFL. We have a great connection with all the NFL teams. We've put in a lot of guys in the NFL, and some guys have been starters, and some guys have just been the quality backup guys or special teams guys. But they're making good money now, and I think it's a chance to keep your dream alive. Every guy grows up wanting to play in the NFL if you're into football. So it's just a sidetrack. Everybody's story is different on how you get to the NFL, and we just happen to be one of those little avenues that we can help some guys out at.
No show without you would be without bringing up a good reference about the Winnipeg Jets are having a good season. Paul Maurice was once their coach. Off to a fine start there. We'll put that up. Hensman, back to you. Okay, another good one. Do you scout high school or college?
Mainly college. I mean, we will look at some high school guys because I'm here in Venice, so there's always some good football players coming through Venice High School. But I'll track them wherever they go to college and watch them. And then, but mainly it's our guys that scouting through colleges. I'll see every team in the state of Florida play live. All their schools, I'll see them play live, and then try to get into Southeast Georgia or Eastern Alabama to watch some of those schools as well. And then I try when I'm watching the Florida teams, I want to see somebody different, like that I haven't seen before. Like I saw California against Florida State. Those Virginia Tech against Miami. So games that I normally would get a chance to see, like a Virginia or California team, I try to go to those games as well.
Another good one from Pensman. Are you going to any bowl games to scout and bring players to the CFL if they can't make it?
I'm going to. I think it used to be the Motor City one, the one in Detroit on the day after Christmas.
Right.
Because yeah. So I'll be up in that area, so I'm going to do that one, and then get back. I think there's the Gasparilla is in Tampa,
right?
And then I did the Boca Raton Bowl last year.
Oh, I was at that game too.
Were you? Okay, I did that one. Then
USF blew out Syracuse. Look what Syracuse did to Miami.
Yeah. Because then I did what's the other one? The two there's two in Orlando. I can't. There's the Pop-Tarts. That was Florida.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping to go to that one this year.
Okay. Yeah, good possibility could get to that one, and then there's the other one that's before it. It's a smaller bowl game. I got my schedule working out right now, just trying to get the okay to get those to those games. Yeah.
Okay, back to the chat room a little more before we wrap up the show. Appreciate the response. Great show again. Intriguing guest tonight. Yeah. When my guests come on, I make sure that they're fit for what we do. Does the quarterback, obviously, Ugalau, I'm not going to dare to touch that, have a shot to play the CFL? He's an ex-Oregon State guy. I'm a fan, even though he struggled. It was a tough year for this kid.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, it never really got clicking early. He has a skill set to play in the CFL for sure, because he has a strong arm. He can move with the football and running around, move the chains a little bit. One thing I see, he just needs to be a little more accurate. And I talked about that earlier, be an accurate thrower, and that can come. It can come just getting a feel for what the game is and getting the ball out. But I mean, he was very good at Clemson. He was good at Oregon State, and just fell in some tough times there at Florida State. But he definitely has the attributes to be in the CFL.
Yeah, Pedro, I wouldn't hold your breath about Cam Ward going to CFL. I wouldn't, but certainly worth mentioning anyways for Dreamer purposes.
Now, a couple teams have looked at him up in the CFL when he was a little bit younger, but now he's doing pretty good right now. I think he'll be set for a while.
Yeah, I've been watching him play all year. It's been a great year watching Cam develop under Mario Criswell for sure.
And he's the type of quarterback that we look for, guy that can move around. We look for a runner that's an athlete. I mean, we look for a thrower that's an athlete, not a runner who thinks he can throw. I mean, Cam, he can throw the football. So he is for a CFL quarterback, he would be an outstanding pick. Yeah.
Which is exactly why I brought up Johnny Malincel earlier in the broadcast.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Candy, go ahead to one more station break, and then we'll let Danny out of here on a thank you note and a few other projects that we have in the work for him. Go ahead, Candy.
So the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book late last year called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning in the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. It talks about Scott's 40-plus years in the media industry and how the media business has changed over those 40 years. Scott's a great storyteller, and he tells some great stories in this book. It's a great gift idea, so go get your copy today. It also has a couple of pictures, including one young Scott with a young Muhammad Ali. So if you want to see the picture, go get the book. It is also, there's a link to to get the book, also on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a link to our merchandise store as well. Besides the plethora of great articles by many different people and many different institutions. We have some of the colleges, especially in here in the state of Florida. FSU sends us stuff. The Gators send us stuff. The Hurricanes send us stuff. USF sends us stuff, and FAU. So we got a lot of the major colleges around here sending us stuff, along with some NFL stuff. And just go check out the website. It's a great website. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Monday nights is baseball night. Tuesday nights is football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you just never know what you're going to have. Although tomorrow night we will not be broadcasting. So check us back out next week. If you want to sponsor a show like we had tonight, Sawgrass Cleaning Solutions, give Scott a call, 954-304-4941, so you can advertise just like Sawgrass Cleaning Solutions did tonight. Thank you, Sawgrass Cleaning Solutions, for that sponsorship. And if you want to be a guest on a show or have show ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Thank you very much, Candy. Appreciate that. Danny, I can't thank you for being on the show. You're, like I said, at the top of the hour. You're the latest Hall of Famer that I've had. A great pleasure. But the difference between you is at least we go back a long way. And yes, you learned a lot about the CFL, and Danny certainly gave a good education about the league. Hopefully people will start watching a lot more. And I'll be bringing on Danny a lot more. We're planning to bring him on Tuesday night with the guys over on Inside the Pigskin. And a special shout out to Rod Peterson, who wanted a picture of Danny McManus, and I knew who this guy was. All I had to do was turn back the clock back to the 80s to do it. So a special shout out to Rod Peterson as well. Yeah. But meanwhile, Danny, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your Wednesday night to do this.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate it, buddy.
We look forward to doing another show on Tuesday night, and I look forward to seeing you in person again. Danny, you've always been a really, really great friend, and it's just so cool that we get to talk tonight, and we had a chance to have a few memories before, and we have way more ahead of us as well. And I'm looking forward to getting up to Venice to see you as well. But we have a date Tuesday night. I want to thank everybody for joining us in this edition of the Motor City Madmouth Show. On behalf of the Hall of Famer, CFL Hall of Famer, Danny McManus, my name is Scott Morgan about the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on the show. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you the next time we're on the air. And keep in mind, if you miss this show, go to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Check them out. We keep them on there forever. And by the way, there's no cost to subscribe either. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll catch you the next time. Good night now.